Okay, so today we are diving into something that is genuinely set to change the game, a new global standard called IFRS S1. It's all about bringing some serious clarity to the promises companies make about their environmental and social impact. Let's get right into it. You've seen it, right? Companies everywhere making these big, bold claims about being green or sustainable or ethical, but how do we actually know if it's for real or if it's just some really clever marketing? The truth is, right now, the world of sustainability reporting is, well, it's a mess. It's this patchwork of different standards that makes trying to compare one company to another practically impossible. It's like everybody's speaking a different language.
And that is exactly where IFRS S1 steps in. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as a universal translator. It's one single global standard designed to bring consistency and real comparability to how companies talk about their sustainability stuff. And the goal? Super simple. Create one common language so that we can all finally understand what's really going on behind the curtain.
Now, this whole standard is built on 4 core pillars. So let's start with the first one, governance. If you imagine a company's sustainability plan as a big building project, then governance is the foundation. It is all about who is ultimately in charge of laying that groundwork and making sure the whole thing is solid from the very beginning.
So what does that actually mean? Well, it really boils down to one word: accountability. This pillar demands that companies tell us exactly who is overseeing sustainability issues. We're talking about the formal structures from the board of directors all the way down that are supposed to be managing these huge risks and opportunities.
See, it's not enough to just have a policy sitting in a binder somewhere. IFRS S1 wants to know the specifics. Does the board of directors have direct line of sight on this? Are there specific committees whose job it is to worry about sustainability? And what are the real internal controls that make sure everyone is actually playing by the rules? It's all about putting responsibility at the very top.
And you can see how this plays out across different sectors. For a car company, the board itself might be reviewing the entire electric vehicle strategy. In the apparel world, a special committee might be overseeing supplier audits to make sure labor practices are fair. This isn't just theory, it's about real, high-level action.
All right, so if governance is our foundation, what's next? Well, that brings us to pillar number 2, strategy. This is the architectural blueprint. This is the company's actual game plan for how it's going to tackle the challenges and seize the opportunities of sustainability. What this pillar does is it forces companies to connect their sustainability goals directly to their main business. This can't be some separate feel-good report or a little side project. The strategy has to show exactly how sustainability is baked into their plan to create value over the long haul. A really solid strategy under this new standard has to cover all the bases. You need clear plans for what you're doing now, next year, and 10 years from now. And this is crucial, it requires companies to do scenario analysis, which is basically stress testing their plans against whatever the future might throw at them. Like climate change or new government rules. So for instance, a car company might lay out a formal strategy to make electric vehicles 60% of its total sales by 2035. Or an apparel brand could have a concrete plan to slash water use in its dyeing process by 40%. These aren't vague wishes. They're clear, strategic goals with numbers attached.
Okay, so we've got our foundation and we've got our blueprint. But is the building actually going to stand up? That brings us to our reality check, the last 2 pillars, risk management and metrics and targets. This is the nuts and bolts engineering and the real-world measurement that proves the plan is more than just talk. So risk management, you can think of this as the structural engineering of our building. It's the process a company uses to constantly scan the horizon, to identify what could go wrong and also what could go right, and then fold that knowledge right into how they manage risk across the entire business. For instance, a big agricultural company has to be actively monitoring how climate change could affect its crop yields down the line. A car maker has to keep a very close eye on potential changes to fuel standards. It's all about being proactive and prepared, not just waiting for things to happen. And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar, metrics and targets. If the other parts of the plan, this is the proof. These are the surveyor's tools. This is how we actually measure progress and see if the company is building what it promised in its blueprint. It's where the promises meet the cold, hard data. So let's see some of these metrics in action. For that clothing company, it's not enough to just say, we're saving water. No, they need a specific target, like this one. A 40% reduction. It's specific, it's measurable, there's no hiding from it. Same idea for an automaker. A clear target could be this: hitting a fleet average of 40 miles per gallon by 2030. It's a hard number with a very clear deadline.
And what about supply chain accountability? An apparel company might set a target like this, auditing 100% of its main suppliers every single year. There is zero ambiguity there.
So we've walked through all 4 pillars. Now let's just take a step back and see how they all lock together to create this complete, integrated picture of what a company is actually doing on sustainability. The logic is actually really simple and powerful when you see it laid out. It all starts with governance. Who's responsible? From there, you get a strategy, the actual plan. That plan then gets stress tested through risk management. And finally, you track everything with metrics and targets. See how each piece builds on the last? It creates this incredibly coherent story.
So, why does all of this matter so much? Well, for the first time ever, IFRS S1 provides a global baseline. It creates that common language we talked about, which lets investors and customers and regulators finally make meaningful apples-to-apples comparisons. I mean, imagine being able to compare the carbon footprint of 2 different airlines as easily as you can compare their ticket prices. That's the kind of power we're talking about here.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last crucial question. This new standard gives all of us the ability to look inside a company's sustainability playbook like never before. Without much transparency, will it actually force companies to play a better, more sustainable game? The framework is here. Now we all get to see what happens next.